My name is Foley, and I'm here today to talk about, actually it's not Uniswap, it's XYK liquidity. So I realized that last night when I was making the slides, and I didn't want people to think I was like shit talking Uniswap. I think they're a pretty good protocol, but I do have some problems with the V2 implementation that they have. It's actually very like commonly used, AMM. So this talk is specifically about how XYK is probably not the best liquidity structure. It has nothing to do with Uniswap. But yeah, let's get started. Okay, so I kind of want to get a gauge of like people's familiarity with this topic. So just by show of hands, do people know, how many people know like what XYK is or have heard of it? Okay, so like decent amount. Yeah, so for those who don't know, XYK is like a type of automated market maker, helps price liquidity on DEXs. And it's actually the most like adopted on-chain liquidity curve that we use today. So if you did any kind of DeFi farming in 2020, if you've ever done a swap on chain, if you ever bought a meme coin on pump.fun, all of those things probably use the XYK curve. And so, you actually interacted with this, maybe if you didn't know it. And the way it works is actually very simple. So in this pool, when you make a trade, this curve will just price, your trade based on how many tokens it has in the pool. So when you say XYK, X refers to one side of the token supply times another side of the token supply. That creates a constant. And so when you do a swap, you just have to make sure that the K stays the same when you change one of the supply numbers on the side. So like for example, if we have a liquidity pool, it has 10,000 USDC and 200 tokens in it, then K would be 10,000 times 200, which is 2 million. So if someone wants to buy 2 tokens, then you take the 2 million, which is the constant, you divide that by 198 is the number of tokens that they're taking from the pool, and you end up with 10,101. So in this example, someone would be paying $101 to receive 2 tokens from the AMM, and they would get an average price of like $50.50. And so that's generally how it works. First, I kind of want to talk about why it's good, because it's the most commonly used thing. Everyone uses it. And the reason comes down to simplicity. So the nice thing about AMMs is they're very simple. You just put the tokens in, and the whole system will handle the liquidity distribution, the liquidity rebalancing. You never really have to worry about managing a position. It's just gonna generate fees for you, and it's a very passive strategy. So there's other alternatives out there today. There's Uniswap v3, there's order books and things, but people don't really use them because you need to set up systems to integrate with them, to rebalance them. So yeah, XYK is a very passive strategy. But I would say aside from that, there's actually no real other benefits. Being simple is probably its only strong suit. But it actually has a lot of problems, and we'll go into them. So the first problem is that this curve is very dumb. What I mean by that is the way that liquidity is provisioned actually has, they don't know anything about the tokens that they're selling or buying. So the XYK curve is just a math equation that defines a kind of arbitrary invariant. It doesn't know like the tokenomics, the market cap of what it's trading. And it always has to assume, actually, that there are infinite tokens that it can be buying and selling at any given time. And because of this, it means that there's always going to be liquidity in this XYK pool that will never, ever be used. So even if every single token is sold into one of these pools, you'll actually find that at the very end, there's actually going to be some money left over in the pool, and that money belongs to nobody, so it's kind of wasted. And you see this with like pump phone coins. If you guys traded meme coins, even if all the billion coins get sold, you'll see like 6-7 SOL in the pool left over for every single pump fund coin that's deployed, and it's because of this curve. And so, on a small scale, maybe it's not a big deal, it's one or two pools, but over a large aggregate, like industry where almost every coin has a V2 pool, it's actually a lot of money wasted because it doesn't really know what's going on about the liquidity that it's providing. Okay, so it's not just dumb. The other problem with that is it's very lazy. So XYK is a very passive strategy, as I said, but it doesn't react to things that are happening in the market. So it only worries about how many tokens it has at any time, and it doesn't take into account, recent volume, recent price action, volatility. So it's not very market aware of the behaviors of the people that are trading with it. And I think that becomes a big problem as, markets are getting more advanced. Maybe in 2020, it's not a big problem. People are just trading, doing whatever. But now that we have like real institutional players of like real significant flows, and at scale, this is starting to become a lot of issues, the leakage, right? So because it's a static strategy, it's very easy to manipulate and to game this liquidity system. The common things that we see a lot is there's like sniping and bundling. So the XYK pool will just gather a lot of the liquidity at the very beginning of the launch price. It makes it really easy if someone's coming in, you're doing a fair launch, for someone to just snipe up the entire supply. You saw this with meme coins as well. There's like a lot of bundles. People started talking about it. Oh, is it bundled? Who bundled it? And it's because of this liquidity curve that allows that to happen. Yeah. The other issue is, MEV and arbitrage attacks. People are able to clip out the prices on the pool because it's very static. It doesn't respond to, the outside price adjustments. So until someone comes in and takes the free money, it's not going to update its price. And also, the other issue with this is it's very easily exposed to oracle attacks. Because the liquidity is super thin, it's easy to manipulate the price with not a lot of capital. And so recently, I think a lot of people, if you trade, you saw like Hyperliquid had to delist a token called Jelly Jelly. It's traded on an XYK curve. It's a very thin curve. And so they're able to, do some price manipulation on that. And so even, some of the best projects can't really avoid the issues that this curve like presents. Okay, and I would say the third issue with XYK is that it's very inefficient. It spreads the liquidity evenly across the entire curve. So I kind of talked about this before, how there's always going to be a little bit of that money left over. But the other problem with this strategy is that you have a lot of money sitting in the pool, but it's never ever going to get used for any purpose. It just sits there. It's completely wasted. To me, it feels like, with these pools, you have you built a highway, and this highway has like 6 lanes, but you only allow cars to drive through one of the lanes, and the other 5 lanes just sit there for everyone to look at and not use. And a lot of times when you're trading in these pools, that's what it feels like. Okay, so the reality is we've been using this curve for basically everything that we've done in crypto. And we talk a lot about how, crypto coins are very volatile. Things kind of, always trend towards zero. And we blame a lot of people for a lot of things. Investors or the team is rugging, and I'm not saying that these things don't happen. But I also think that, we have to look at what's facilitating these problems in crypto. And to me, a lot of it comes back to the XYK curve. Because if you're trying to do like the DeFi, like staking yields or rewards, and you're trying to sustain the value of those emissions, and you're doing this on this price curve, it's going to be very hard for people to create sustainable economic models when they don't have the right liquidity infrastructure to support it. So it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but the solution is potentially a project that I'm working on called Baseline. And what we're trying to do is we're actually trying to have a liquidity management system that's as simple as XYK. So you just deposit tokens in, it auto rebalances for you. It's a passive strategy. You never have to worry about your pricing, but it has a little bit, more intelligence as to how it's calculating the liquidity, right? So one of the things that we're going to try to do in Baseline is we deploy liquidity with more awareness about the tokenomics of the system. So instead of just saying, oh, how many tokens do I have in this liquidity pool for the price? we actually think about what's the circulating supply, how much of it is currently in, outside the liquidity pool that we need to buy back in order to create something safe, and create price ranges that help balance out that volatility. So with something like baseline, you can actually calculate the exact amount of liquidity that's required to buy back the entire circulating supply of any token. So you can know, like, okay, this is the minimum value that we can guarantee in the liquidity pool. We can be more aggressive about defending certain pockets of value and things like that in ways that Uniswap doesn't know. And I just want to kind of give some ideas of what this might look like in theory. So one of the things that we've done is we've actually run simulations, trading simulations, where we deployed a baseline liquidity pool and a Uniswap liquidity pool with the same starting parameters, and run some trading against it to see how the price charts will look. So in here you see that the blue is the baseline price and the red is the Uniswap price. Both pools start with 40 ETH of liquidity and 200,000 tokens in this simulation. It's 20% of the total supply into the pool with 1 million total tokens, and we're running the same trades for both. So you can kind of notice that in the second, with the blue, the volatility is kind of dampened, something you notice right off the bat. You don't have as much of the spiking on the top, near the top of the trades, and then as the price cliffs off, it's obviously not a fun chart to look at because nobody likes to see the numbers go down, but what you do see is that the liquidity can be buffered much higher, and so the ending price is a little bit better than the Uniswap pool. But then there are other things about this, I think, that make it interesting that you don't see under the hood. So for example, on the right side is the supply of this simulation for both the pools. So it's not just the price that's really interesting. If you notice on the supply with the Uniswap V2 curve, by the end of the trading simulation, there's actually still some surplus tokens that it has sold. So it's been net dilutive to the market, about 30,000 tokens extra. Even though the price has dropped all the way down, there's still extra tokens that people bought that they need to kind of sell back to the curve. And then in the baseline system, we started out with a higher, or we ended up with a higher price, but we also actually created a less supply by the end of the trading simulation. So we did a net buyback of about 50K tokens in the pool, and for a total difference of about 80,000 tokens. It's almost 8% almost of the entire supply in terms of supply difference. Just from the curvature change in the liquidity, we're able to create this better price action. And the last piece that you can see is, I would say, the liquidity depth on the bottom right of the chart. This is just showing what percentage of the supply you need to be buying or selling to move the price 2%. So how much slippage do you actually get? And we're able to consistently provide higher and deeper liquidity than the Uniswap curve. We lose less money in the pool for doing it. And a lot of it just comes from the fact that we have more knowledge about how many tokens need to be traded and can be traded because we have the supply and the tokenomics in mind. And so that's just a quick simulation. What does this actually mean for you, and why is it important? Like, why do I care about talking about this? And the reason is because if you trade crypto, it means literally more money in your pocket. So when we did an ROI simulation, the trading simulation was done with about 50 different randomized agents that would have these randomized volume on certain conditions, bullish, bearish, and chop market. And we're able to find that if you take the ROIs of all of these agents at the end of the trading simulation, you'll find that on average, baseline pools generate more ROI, both from an average and a standard deviation. So in a distribution, more people make more money from trading these pools. And the maximum ROI also is higher for baseline. And so you can see that the liquidity of the pool is actually determining the outcomes of the market participants that are trading in it. And so if we want to have better projects, more success with our tokens, I think this is something that we actually have to look at more deeply and think about more deeply. And then I don't know if we have time for this, but I just show it really quickly. This is one of the things that we have in production. It's our token. Again, it's another chart that goes down, so not that great to look at, but it's really important to highlight something here, which is that we recently, in a token we've launched called Yes. It was around 51 million market cap. We had someone sell, I think, almost $2.5 million in a single day, and the price went down about 15%, which is not great, but in this case, our project is still running and it's still smooth. If we used an XYK pool, the price would have tanked by almost 65% instead of the 15% that we experienced. The market cap would have less than halved, and I think a lot more troubles would have come from that. So it's cool to see this kind of like price action in production. Yeah. Okay, and that's all the time I have for. So thank you very much for coming to my talk. If you guys want to learn more about like liquidity systems and what we're doing at Baseline, feel free to scan the QR code and give us a follow on Twitter. Thank you very much.